Implications now of our recognition of today's world order as the world order of Gog and Magog. I'm not the first to come to that conclusion. No. There were others before me, but we were very few. Very few. Is this world order the world order of Gog and Magog? Why is it that the overwhelming majority of the scholars of Islam reject this position of ours? Because of a hadith. One solitary hadith. It is in Sahih Muslim. This is what the hadith says, and you find it in Jerusalem in the Quran in the chapter. The hadith says that Nabi Isa alayhi salam will come down and that he will then kill Dajjal, and after Dajjal has been killed, Allah will then say to Nabi Isa alayhi salam, go up the mountain, which is a mountain in Baytul Maqdis, Jerusalem. Go up the mountain. Why? I have created creatures of mine so powerful that none but I can destroy them. And then Gog and Magog are released, and the first of them will pass by the Sea of Galilee and start to drink the water. And by the time the last of them pass, they will say there used to be water here. This hadith in Sahih Muslim very clearly implies that the release of Gog and Magog will take place only after Dajjal has been killed. It is really amazing that the overwhelming number of our scholars have chosen to hold on to this one solitary hadith and use this as the foundation for the establishment of their thought on the subject. In the process of holding on to this one solitary hadith, they are now waiting for Gog and Magog. That only after Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns, after Dajjal has been killed, only then will Allah bring down the barrier. Only then will Gog and Magog be released. And so we do not have Gog and Magog in the world anyway now. Maulana Fazlur Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah, our teacher, warned. This was his warning. He said, do not study any verse of the Quran or any hadith in isolation. No. He said, bring all the material together. Do you remember? This is one of the earlier lectures. Bring all the verses of the Quran on a subject. Bring all the hadith on the subject. Bring all the relevant material that you have on a subject. Then study that material and try to locate the thread which binds it together into a meaningful whole. What was that thread that he called it? He called it the system of meaning. These are Maulana's words. When you have located that system of meaning which binds the material together as a harmonious whole, then go and study the hadith you want to study. Today's Islamic scholarship has not done that. If you took all of the material together, then you could never be able to fit in this hadith. This hadith stands out in conflict with all the rest of the material. So in the process of holding on to that solitary isolated hadith, in Sahih Muslim, they have disregarded eight hadith in Sahih Bukhari, in which the Prophet ﷺ clearly confirmed that the wall was brought down in his lifetime, that Gog and Magog were released in his lifetime. 8 ahadith in Sahih Bukhari. Well, what can I do if they want to wait? So go ahead and wait. But there is one hadith which stands in the way now for them. It is in Sahih Bukhari. And Allah says, لَتُحَجَّنَّ الْبَيْتِ لَيُحَجَّنَّ الْبَيْتِ وَلَيُؤْتَمَرَنَّ. The people will continue to make the Hajj to the house of Allah, and people will continue to perform the Umrah to the house of Allah, the Kaaba, بعد خروج يأجوج ومأجوج, even after Gog and Magog have been released. And then the hadith goes on to say, لا تقوم الساعة حتى لا يحج, that the last day would not come until the Hajj has been abandoned. This hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. Let me repeat it. People will continue to perform the Hajj and the Umrah even after the release of Gog and Magog. But the last day would not come until the Hajj has been abandoned. And so when that day comes that the Hajj is abandoned, it will confirm that Gog and Magog were released long ago. Are you following me? Well, I am anticipating that the abandonment of the Hajj will take place. Alright, let me ask you, when? When do you presume that the Hajj will be abandoned? Let me see if any of the sisters have an answer. Good to hear you now. Said the Prophet ﷺ, what do you think will cause the abandonment of the Hajj? My wife could also answer the question. Yes? When Dajjal rules. Alright. Anybody else? I like that answer. Anybody else?
If they are blocked from going.
Prohibited from going, yes. What event is likely to take place which will cause the abandonment of the Hajj? The big war, correct. When Israel wages her big war, which will witness the dramatic territorial expansion of the state, and then a concomitant means taking place at the same time, a concomitant attack on the US dollar, and it collapses, and all the paper money in the world collapse, and the US economy collapses, and then Israel replaces the United States as the ruling state in the world. That big war is likely to inflame the passions of the Muslims around the world to such a fever pitch that the Saudi government cannot allow the Hajj to take place, because such a Hajj would likely threaten the foundations of the Saudi state. And so they might use some cock and bull story about some virus which is a great danger to health, and get World Health Organization to issue an advisory, and then they suspend the Hajj. And then the next year they continue the suspension until eventually the Hajj is abandoned. And so this event could be around the corner. The abandonment of the Hajj, which has been held for the last few thousand years. Israel is likely to wage a big war, I said, probably within the next 5 to 10 years. And then the Hajj is abandoned. What are the scholars of Islam going to do at that time? You cannot say that we have to wait for the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam and for him to kill Dajjal, only then for Gog and Magog to be released, because here is this hadith. People will continue to perform the Hajj and the Umrah even after the release of Gog and Magog. But the last hour would not come until the Hajj is abandoned. And that is around the corner, in my opinion. Now then, if we are to accept the position given in this class, that the world order which today controls the world in its iron grip, and you must read this flyer. Please get one copy of this flyer before you leave. Is the world order of Gog and Magog? What are the implications for us? Number one, that the power of those who control the world today in their wicked grip cannot be defeated and destroyed. And so our incapacity to challenge them does not invalidate the claim to truth of Islam. Let me repeat that. Our incapacity to successfully challenge those who control the world today with their indestructible power, our incapacity to successfully challenge them does not invalidate Islam's claim to truth. Why? Because Allah has created this power. It is evil. Oh yes, it is evil. But did Allah not say at the end of the Quran, "Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falak"? And then, what after that? Min sharri ma khalaq. Say, I seek refuge with Allah, the Rabb of the falak, the dawn, from the evil which He created. He did not create Iblis as an evil being, did He? No. Iblis made a choice. As we all make our choices, sometimes we choose and then we regret our choice. Iblis made his choice to disobey. So Iblis was not created as an evil being. Evil has come to him through his own choice. Allah asked him, "Why did you not bow down when I commanded you to bow? Come on, Iblis, answer me." And he answered. He said, "Ana khayru minhu." I better than he. Khalaqtani min nar, you created me from fire. Wa khalaqtahu min teen, and you created him from clay. And therefore, I am superior to him. So why I bow into him? So Iblis is not an evil being created by Allah as an evil being. Well then, where is the evil that Allah created? Gog and Magog. Clearly. are evil beings created by Allah. Dajjal, an evil being created by Allah. But notice that all the evil beings created by Allah are destroyed by Allah. He will destroy Gog and Magog. And his messenger, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, will destroy Dajjal. The implication for us is that once Gog and Magog are released, they corrupt everything, including morals. And so your teenage daughter, you going to the masjid 5 times a day, huh? You ensure only halal meat in your house. But your teenage daughter in a place called Pier 1, is it? Is that what they call it? Somewhere in Shagarama, is it? And that where they have the parties? Yeah. Your teenage daughter gone partying in Pier 1? Is this a common phenomenon? Is it happening? And Dr. Wahid Ali spent about 2 hours this morning with me, hammering me. What you doing, Imran? This is happening in the country. This is happening in our community. What you doing about it? How do we respond to a world which is becoming more and more corrupt, more and more decadent, more and more vulgar? And you know that you cannot change it. What do you do when you see the ship sinking and you know you cannot prevent it from sinking? Come on, somebody. Huh? You don't have to have a law degree like Imran to answer the question. When you see the ship sinking and you know you cannot prevent it from sinking, let me see what the sisters will say. The ship is sinking. You cannot prevent it from sinking. What do you do? Pray. Correct? Correct? Get off the ship. That's the correct answer. Get off the ship. Allah says, Ku anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. Protect yourselves and protect your families from the fire. Every Muslim home has been touched by the fire already. This one, his sister married some Bhagwan Singh. And that one, his sister married some Mr. Thomas. And now when you even tell them Salaam Alaikum, they don't want to answer Wa Alaikum Salam. I say, she's shaking your head. And when you go in the kitchen, you might find some pork in the kitchen. That's our community today. And when you look at the newspapers for the people who died, and all the family members, and it's a Muslim fella, but the funeral service in Rose Heart Presbyterian Church or something. The funeral service, or he gone to crematorium. And if you see the names, look at the names of all the family members, and you see the pilau. Is a pilau. The Quran has commanded, protect yourselves and protect your families from the fire. The evidence is as plain as daylight, not only for this community, that we are losing. We are losing. What do we do? She said, if you on board a ship and the ship's sinking, and you know it's sinking, and you cannot stop it from sinking, you get off the ship. That's what the sister said. And that's what Surah Al-Kahf says. That is precisely what Surah Al-Kahf said. Get off the ship means go and search for an area of greater security where you can establish yourselves and have some confidence that your families are protected from the fire.
There's one hadith, only one, in Sahih Muslim, that after Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns, the true Messiah will kill the false Messiah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will فَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ يأجوج ومأجوج. بَعَثَ. But the Quran uses a different word for release. In Surah Al-Anbiya, إِذَا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج. When Gog and Magog are released, they're opened. That is the release. And ba'atha means to send or to raise. Well, it couldn't mean to raise here. Why? Because they've been raised long ago. And they were committing fasad long before we built the barrier. So it has to mean Allah will send Gog and Magog at that time. And the first of them will pass by the Sea of Galilee and start to drink the water. And by the time the last of them pass, they'll say, there used to be water here. Where is Amir? Oh, there he is. From Haifa.
Not left.
From Haifa in Palestine, in the Holy Land. And for the last 2 years, he's been monitoring the water level and sending me reports constantly. My student, Amir. The Sea of Galilee is almost dry. Did you know that? It has now reached a level where it can no longer be revived. So it's essentially dead, waiting to dry up. I think that qualifies as a little bit of proof, isn't it? That something is happening here. I think that qualifies as evidence that there's some kind of a passage there for Gog and Magog. But because the hadith says that after Nabi Isa alayhi salam kills Dajjal, their understanding is that only at that time will Allah bring down the barrier, and only at that time will Gog and Magog be released. And Imran Hosein is a voice crying in the wilderness for 15 years now. 15 years now, a voice crying in the wilderness. But you cannot be angry with your brothers, they're more learned than you are. All that we can do is to pray that someone will tell them this is wrong methodology. When you go to the Quran to find out when will the barrier come down, remember we only have a hadith in Sahih Bukhari about the vision while he was sleeping. When we go to the Quran, when will Allah bring down the barrier? We find in Surah Al-Anbiya the verse of all verses. In fact, there are 2 verses. وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا. Notice this is the only passage of the Quran I recite word by word. وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ. A qaryah, and Allah destroyed it. And we know that before the end, Allah is going to destroy all. وَإِن مِّن قَرْيَةٍ, not a single one will escape. وَإِن مِّن قَرْيَةٍ إِلَّا نَحْنُ مُهْلِكُوهَا قَبْلَ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. أو معذبوها عذابا شديدا وكان ذلك في الكتاب مسطورا. سورة Isra, otherwise known as Surah Bani Israel. Every single town and city will be destroyed, and those who escape destruction will be inflicted with terrible punishment. But this is a subject that is mastur. There's a cover over it. When Allah lifts the cover, then you see that. وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا. This is a town or a city, and Allah destroyed it. And having destroyed it, the people were expelled. أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ. And then He put a ban on them that they can never return to this town or city to reclaim it as their own. حتى, until when? إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج, until Gog and Magog are released by Allah. وهم من كل حدب ينسلون, and they descend from every height, or they spread out in every direction. Both the meanings are admissible. Which town? Which city is it? You will go to the Quran, it will not tell you. You've got homework to do. You will go to the Prophet ﷺ, he will not tell you. You've got homework to do. But when you take the totality of the data in the Quran on this subject of the signs of the last day, because Gog and Magog is here, and you ask which town is it, then there's only one answer to the question. It has to be Jerusalem. That the city of Jerusalem was destroyed, and Banu Israel were expelled, the state of Israel was destroyed, and for 2,000 years they could not return. No, they could not return. Allah put a ban on them. But when he was drowning underneath the water, then he realized that he wasn't God. You know, previously he said, Ana Rabbukum al-A'la, I am the Lord Most High. But when he was drowning underneath the water, he said, oh my gosh, I am not God. I am not God. So that he declared his faith in the God of Banu Israel. So Allah said, Al-Ad, now Fir'aun, وَقَدْ عَصَيْتَ قَبْلَ, and before this you were in obstinate rejection, وَكُنَّ مِنَ الْمُفْسِدِينَ, and you were committing fasad. فَيَوْمَ نُنَجِّيكَ بِبَدَنِكَ. This day we have decided, we have ordained to preserve your physical body. لِتَكُونَ لِمَنْ خَلْفَكَ آيَةً. So that your physical body, when it is rediscovered, when it resurfaces in the historical process, will be an ayah, a sign, for a people to come after you. A people who live the way you lived and who will die the way you died. At the last moment, when it's too late, then they will say, now we believe. And they'll die like that, the way he died, and go into the hellfire. وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ عَنْ آيَاتِنَا لَغَافِلُونَ. But most people are too busy to bother about my signs unfolding in the world. The body of Fir'aun was discovered at the end of the 19th century. The Zionist movement was established at precisely that moment. And so now The people of the town are going to be brought back. فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ جِئْنَا بِكُمْ لَفِيفًا. And there's a divine hand in this. It's not acting by accident. And so they come back after 2,000 years. Who is bringing them back? If you can see who are bringing them back, you can identify Gog and Magog. Yeah. And if you want to know the origins of Gog and Magog, because they're constantly expanding, because they're spreading out, okay, in all directions. So the original Gog and Magog would be small in number, but eventually you're going to have Pakistani Gog and Magog. You're going to have Japanese Gog and Magog. You're going to have Chinese Gog and Magog, okay? But the original Gog and Magog are the ones where the center of power is located. This is only the periphery. Islamabad is the periphery. Here is the center. Where is the center? We say that it is Gog and Magog who attack Christian European civilization, which was Christendom, and transformed it into godless modern Western civilization. We say this is the civilization of Gog and Magog. And it is this civilization which now possesses a power which cannot be rivaled. It is this civilization which uses military power to attack, as Ambassador Adlan Rose was speaking about, the period of military conquest of the rest of the world, and then the colonization of the rest of the world, and then the decolonization. They are the ones who brought back Banu Israel to the town to reclaim it as their own. And so there is Gog and Magog. But originally, you have to look at the Caucasus Mountains. And when we do that, we find that it is the Khazar, K-H-A-Z-A-R, who converted to Judaism shortly after the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And so now you have a curious creature. They don't like me for this. A curious creature emerges in history who is not Semitic. He is most certainly not a cousin of the Arabs. He is European, but he's also a Jew. Oh? Can you have such a thing as a European Jew? I thought they were from the seed of Ibrahim alayhi salam to Ishaq alayhi salam. I thought they were Banu Israel. Not only is the European Jew something unique amongst Jews, but if you do a genetic test on him, you see the evidence staring at you that he is genetically unique in the world. No other people are like him, the European Jew. And so we have identified for you that the Khazar, who are the original, have become Jews. And some of them also became Christians. And I believe some of them also became Muslims. So let me speak softly. The end of it all is that they're going to have a grand, mighty clash between Gog and Magog. And Allah speaks of it. وَتَرَكْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَمُوجُ فِي بَعْضٍ. يَمُوجُ فِي بَعْضٍ. Like waves crashing against each other. It can also mean merging with each other, which explains globalization around the world today, one global society. But the other meaning is the one I want to concentrate on now. The clash that will take place. You have my book somewhere around there, An Islamic View of Gog and Magog in the Modern World. There is this mighty clash that is going to take place. I don't want to spoil your tea, But when we examine to identify them today, there is no question but Magog is Russia and the alliance with Russia. And therefore Gog will have to be the Anglo-American-Israeli alliance. And when they clash, it's not going to be with bows and arrows, or not. It's going to be